Alright, hi everyone. This is Ultima. I decided I want to do something a little different. Yeah, I haven't done a commentary like this before, but I really want to show off a couple of things about this character I'm playing right now. So this is a Varunastra Sunder slash Blade Flare character. It's definitely one of the strongest characters I've played. It gets about 2 million Sunder DPS and something like 3 million Blade Flurry DPS on Shaper. And if you just look at my gear here, this is really expensive gear. I'll talk about cheaper alternatives later. But I have 6,500 life with Fortify up all the time. My defensive stats, resists are pretty poor right now. I tried to drop a lot of resist from gear just because I could get away with it, and I'm using creative elements with the Watcher's Eye. I'll show you later. Not terrible amount of armor, especially with this Lion's Roar up. About 6,000 armor. Decent evasion rating. I have acro, but not phase acro. And, blind because everyone uses blind. I guess to start, I'll just show you a quick Shaper run and see how that goes. Also, yeah, I should swap these gems back. So normally I'm using this Sunder setup, but because that's what I use for most clear, but I have 3 gems to swap for Blade Flurry. The links aren't optimal, but I do what I can with the colors I have.
You little mouse. You don't belong here. Run along. Turn back, trespasser. Cease this vanity. You tamper with things you do not understand.
And yeah, I am used to using Sunder, so the Blade Flurry is actually a little bit awkward because of 4 range.
Recklessness will not go unpunished.
But I mean, as you can see, the damage is pretty insane.
This is your final warning. You force my hand again, little mouse.
Alright, we'll see how fast we can push this phase transition here.
You've chosen to side with chaos. This is my world, and you shall obey my order.
Looks like I didn't quite get it in the slam time, but it was basically right there. I have actually done the kill Shaper phase inside the slam time before. I actually had to stop DPSing that red beast for a bit just to be able to not kill it.
Behold the face of your unmaking.
Father, it's me. Let me help you.
The horror must be stopped. Obstacles destroyed.
Stay close.
Again, not quite there. Looks like I didn't crit either, so some damage lost there.
Buy me some time. long. We need to get back.
So I had to run a few levels ago where I just walked into all this guy's orbs and died, so let's try not to do that. Okay, that went pretty well.
I cannot lose them.
They lied to you, Father. I'm your true memory.
To save the future, the past must be sacrificed.
Come to me.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, and that's actually my first Star Forge.
Oh, where am I?
Anyways, in addition to that, I guess I did want to show off just some quick map run because I know people are going to ask about that. So, have this handy defiled cathedral sitting right here. Not going to run no leech. Alright, this is fine, just for the showcase. So, my normal link setup, I do have to use a hypothermia because I need the green socket for Blade Flurry, but it's actually a pretty good damage link. This is 38% more damage at level 19. And sure, we'll do Fortune Favors. I need to do the Asana challenge anyways. And you know, I realized people are probably gonna wonder what the rolls on that Star Forge are, so we'll identify it and take a look after this. Oh, and yes, I do use a Leap Slam and a Whirling Blades. They're both linked to separate faster attacks, blood magic setups. I don't use Fortify because I'm a champion. I have the Fortify node. Obviously, one of those is extraneous. I felt like I didn't like playing with Leap Slam when I tried it, and then I like having Leap Slam around just in case I need to jump over something. And a big reason I made this character is because I like the idea of playing a Blade Flurry champion, except I don't like the idea of using G for clear, and I actually like it with Thunder, so Varunastra is good. I mean, it's a very high damage option, and it lets you use Thunder. looks like we have a Kira. See if it's something with the coin.
To an exile. Coin.
Guess not.
Ask away.
Alright, with that taken care of, let's drop this stuff here. And take a look at this thing first. Okay, that's an unfortunate fizz damage roll. I'll decide what to do with it later, because it's a perfect max life roll and perfect attack speed roll. Anyways, alright, I'll go over some of my gear, because I actually wanted to talk about this. So, as you can tell by this chest, this is an incredibly expensive character right now. On top of this chest, I also have this Watcher's Eye. Right here, this was about 13 exalts. And it's also the reason I actually sacrificed some resists on jewelry to use Purity Elements, because Purity Elements gives me this extra physical damage reduction. So, you know, this cost me 14 exalts, this cost me 13 exalts. I have 2 socket, these abyss pieces, these were several exalts. I have some really nice jewels on here, you see they're all giving a lot of life. And I have this Varunastra, this pair of high flat fizz steel rings, flat fizz, crit multi, and all res amulet. So I bought this amulet with the aspect of cat skill. I don't like using it for the aspect of cat because I put it on this offhand. It's pretty standard, about 60%. Fizz has extra LE with a crafted crit multi. But the thing I use this mainly for is this aspect of cat. So this chest gives you plus 2 seconds to cat stealth. So default, people have probably gone over this in other places, but default your duration for your cat stealth and cat's agility buffs, they cycle every 12 seconds, and this gives you up to max charges every time they cycle. But because your charges normally only last 10 seconds, you have to reduce that 12 seconds somehow to get it to actually keep the charges up all the time. So I use this aspect of cat, and in here I have a less duration support. Leveling it just because I can, it doesn't really matter what level the actual gem is. And my hat, it doesn't have an enchant, it just has a lot of life and, you know, 3 high resists. So this is pretty expensive gear. A lot of this is pretty unnecessary. I'd say for the most part, like all these pieces, these 2 abyss pieces, you don't have to do this. You can use 1 socket abyss pieces, you know. The nice thing about Varunastra actually is that because you get such an insane amount of stats from your tree, you don't really need that much like multi on jewels or this attack speed on jewels. And actually something a lot of people probably don't know that makes Varunastra so good this league is this jewel right here, Might of the Meek. This is everything in this radius that's not a notable gives 50% better stats. But if you look at this circle actually, it's hitting literally every one of these weapon nodes that's not a notable and leaving the notables alone. So you see this isn't giving any stats. This is actually outside the range, it is giving stats. So these nodes, you know, 12% damage, 6% attack speed per node, or 30% crit chance, 22 multi per node. This is some, these are pretty insane. And you know, you still get the notables because they're really insane. And you're actually missing every node that you would want that's a notable here, except for Blood Drinker. That's partially made up for these nodes giving 3% more each. You do lose slight life on this, but it doesn't matter because of the huge amount of stats you're getting from this. And also, this would actually get buffed by it, but I'll go over it. You don't really need the crit chance here. Likewise, I don't take the crit chance here, and I also don't take these crit chance nodes. So I do have the Watcher's Eye, and it's giving me a lot of crit chance, and I also use an increased critical strike support. Actually, I can vow this right now. Let's do it. Okay, nothing happened. That's pretty expected. So, you know, this 1.9% from this and about 1.7% from here, which means my base crit is about 8.6%. Another budget option, if you don't want to use this Watcher's Eye, because obviously most people can't afford this, is using this cat hat. And the cat hat will give you the aspect of cat, so you don't need to craft it anywhere. The cat itself, the boss should be, I don't know, 20 chaos or so. It's not too bad. It's just the portal itself costs, I don't know what it was, but it was over in Exile when I last checked. So if you want to use the cat hat, like, feel free. That's actually what I was using for a long time. This is a very good amount of stats. 1% base crit, 30-something% cold res, and almost 50% increased damage. You should be blinding things pretty consistently. The reason I'm not is because I really want the life. I mean, this tree does get a lot of life. I can double check how much it is real quick. Yeah, so there's 192% on the tree. I'm level 95. If I gained one more level, I'd get this node to get it to 196%. Most people feel pretty comfortable playing softcore with that amount, and also, I mean, you know, given budget, most people would be using, say, Belly of the Beast instead of this thing. So if you do use Belly of the Beast, your mana reservations should be 50% from Hatred plus 25% from Mastery of the Cat, because it's no longer free without this chest. I would wear this hat. This hat's not really worth anything. It's maybe 10 chaos. Yeah, so Belly of the Beast, you know, 5 link is honestly okay. Like, given the crazy amount of damage you already see, you could probably just drop Concentrated Effect. Or yeah, I mean, I would drop Concentrated Effect if I just had a 5 link Belly of the Beast. Because you still need the green socket for Blade Flurry. Yeah, and then one socket this, use some really high resist rings. Honestly, your damage will still easily be, you know, 1 million, 1.5 million Shaper DPS, because like I said, the tree gives so many stats that the extra stats you're getting from this sort of gear is really not adding as much as it would for, say, a normal sword Blade Flurry / Reeve build. And, you know, again, going over the types of stuff that, types of things that this sword lets you do because of its special bonus. Something that really gets broken with Varunastra is, it's pretty obvious GGG did not intend for you to be able to get, you know, they've nerfed crit multi a lot of times. It's pretty obvious they didn't intend for you to get these multi-nodes, these multi-nodes, this multi-node, these multi-nodes, and on top of that, you know, wear gear that gives multi. So my crit multi is actually, if you look at this tooltip, crit multi is 522%. And my crit chance without a diamond flask up bounces between 86 and 77% with the cat buff cycling. That's not quite accurate because this I have a 120% crit chance if I've been recently standing in hideout. But, you know, realistically this number is high enough that you're critting with a diamond flask upwards of 80 to 85% easily. And again, if you can't afford this Watcher's Eye, you can just use the cat hat, still use increased critical strikes, still use so actually, if you use the cat hat but not the chest, you won't have power charges, so you might have to. Well, I probably wouldn't try to alleviate that. I would just use a blood rage somewhere and not worry about power charges. In that case, it might actually be worth taking these 3 nodes because a 125% crit chance might actually be worth taking for 3 points at that point. Again, I've done a lot of fine-tuning of damage nodes on this tree, like just to see, you know, what nodes give the best damage. So Varunastra lets you take all these dagger, claw, sword nodes, and on top of that you have this deadly dilettante cluster, which is really insane for Varunastra. And also I spent the 4 points from here to go up to here, which gives 48, 24, 24 damage for 4 points. The last few points I actually put in, going up to 95, were jewel sockets. But that said, obviously, you know, if you want to stop your build at around level 90, I would cut, let's see, these are actually pretty valid to cut, and so are these 4 nodes. I found that these 4 nodes are a bit nicer than these because of the attack speed, and, you know, it just overall improves your quality of life. Cutting a jewel socket is fine. I have attack speed and nice multi-jewels. They can more or less be whatever. Without these jewels, I'd have maybe 450% crit multi. It's still pretty insane. And yeah, I mean, that's the gear. Honestly, if you want to play this build, you could get started for something in the like 2 to 3 Exalt range. Just wear Tabula. You need a Varunastra because this is, you know, what the build is based around. Varunastra should be under an Exalt for an okay roll. I personally bought the cheapest one I could, just divined it up to a good roll, and then crafted the 30% myself. Offhand, I mean, a 60% offhand costs maybe 1 to 2 Exalts, but if you just do 40% in multi-roll, it's not that much of a difference. Jewelry, honestly, like I said, can just be resist jewelry with life. Belt, you know, it doesn't need to be a really good Stygian Vice. Tomb Fist I would absolutely use. This boot, up to you. Honestly, if I'm gonna try to do Uber Elder, I would probably switch to a Combs Roots. And hat, cat hat, like I said, chest, belly of the beast, tabula rasa, whatever, up to you. Okay, so for leveling, I guess also, I'll just talk about this. The Ascendancy is a little bit, I mean, the build is a little bit like Mathel's version of Sword Blade Flurry. I chose to take this Fortify node because something I actually found a lot was when doing bosses, I don't really hit enemies with my movement skill that much to maintain Sunder 100%. Let me get this. Yeah, so I actually really like this node. Also, Mathel took this node. You don't need the Intimidate if you wear this glove. Honestly, I guess you could replace this if you take this node, but this is a really nice glove anyways. And I am not the kind of player who's going to turn on Adrenaline regularly. You know, you could if you want. I'm sure if I did that, I could push myself up to like, you know, 3.54 million DPS. It's whatever. Oh, and actually, the 3 million DPS is, like I was saying earlier, this is not the optimal link setup here. With Blade Flurry, I go Blade Flurry, Concentrate Effect, Increase Critical Strikes, Melee Fizz, Maim, and Weapon Ellie, but about half the damage is Weapon Ellie, or only about half my overall damage is Elemental, so this is only giving maybe 27%. and that's reduced by elemental resistances. So realistically, this only gives something in the realm of a 20% more multiplier on Shaper. And another option is chance to bleed for the flat fizz. High level chance to bleed is very close to this. With my current gear setup, with all this flat fizz already, this is slightly better. You know, again, they're close, and it's up to you. Damage on full life would be the highest damage link, but I don't think I would rely on damage on full life. Well, that depends on the encounter too. Shaper should be fine because you can just sidestep a lot of his stuff. You know, Guardians, a lot of those you can sidestep, or your damage is going to be high enough, it doesn't really matter. But Uber Elder, I think there's going to be enough degen on the ground that you wouldn't want damage on full life. And last thing I want to cover before I end the video is leveling. So I leveled this character as Sunder. I just picked up, you know, random two-handed or one-handed unique axes with dual wielding that with Sunder. To do that, I started the tree by going here and grabbing these nodes. And because these actually were some of the last nodes I picked up, I respec'd them after I got the Varunastra for a little bit. But now I have them again, now I'm level 95. I went over here, grabbed these nodes, and then started branching through here, just picking up the life on the way. Got acro, got up to here. So one of the big disadvantages is honestly with this setup, you're not really gonna have, I also took these, you're not really gonna have damage nodes until you get to, I think this is let's check. This is a level 64 weapon, so you wouldn't have the damage until you get to level 64. And that makes the leveling process a little difficult. Another option, obviously, is just to not use axes. In that case, I would just not go here while leveling, go down here, maybe grab this sword wheel, and then go up here and get this crit. And maybe you can get some of the crit on the way, just to, you know, grab this crit wheel, grab this, grab these 3 crit nodes, maybe grab this if you really wanted to. You know, that way you can just use Reeve and Blade Flurry leveling up, and it'll probably be a bit easier. I mean, Sunder's a very good skill to level with, but I don't know. It's not a big deal. You get to level 64 relatively fast anyways. Yeah, and again, like I said, the gear is fine. You basically just start with a 6 link and a Varunastra. Offhand can be pretty much anything. Jewelry just has to cover your resists. This character is pretty optimized up to about as good as I can get it right now. Main thing I would want is a better offhand. And, I mean, yeah, it's easy to play around with the gear setup with this character a lot. I guess I'll leave it at that. I'll throw up a link to my profile and a paste bin of this build for Path of Building. Hope you guys liked this video. I know I'm really rambly because first time doing this, I didn't really have a great plan for what to do or show off. Anyways, have fun. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.